like to welcome y'all to the LK Sport Podcast. This is number 55. On this podcast, we talk about AFC West. We're going through them, additions, subtractions, all that good stuff. Free agent draft, fantasy football, over/under projections, all that good stuff. We're going to give you a lot of information quickly as possible. Other than that, what you got to say, G-Buddy? What's happening?
Here we are again. We're winding down here on these
number 6 of 8.
These division previews.
Yep, it's 6 of 8 right here.
Recaps, whatever you want to call them.
We already did the NFC West. We did both of the Souths and both of the Norths already. So go check those out. Like, subscribe, follow. We on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, LK Pods, man, right here on the laptop, LK Pods. So without further ado, AFC West, we're going to start off with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, we'll start off with them. Oh, man. Let's ride. Let's ride from the rear.
Yes,
Denver Broncos.
You know, they said they're going to play their starters in their first game of the preseason. So they might play
well, they need to change things around after having, the worst coaching job in the history of the NFL last year.
And Sean Payton popping his shit, talking about other coaches. So I hope the Broncos might be bringing the bad boys of the NFL vibe or something. I don't know what Sean
they better put up. He certainly isn't shutting up. But yeah, they were last year. The Broncos offensively were not very good. They were 21st in total offense, 19th in passing, 21st in rushing. But they were dead last in points at 16.9 a game. Not going to win many football games doing that. They were 5-12. I didn't say that they were 5-12 last year in last place. And as we mentioned, Sean Payton is now the coach. They were 8th, though, in total defense, 10th versus the rush, 13th versus the pass. They were 14th in points at 21.1, 23rd in sacks, and -1 in turnover differential. Still very good for the defense, for a defense that was on the field all the time. So right. With that terrible
I like their defense a lot, but sorry, go ahead.
No, that's good. That's the thing. Yeah, they lost Bradley Chubb off this defense last year, but again, on the defensive side of the ball, they should still be pretty good.
Right. 5-12 last year that you said before. They got an over/under of 8.5. They did a few things in the offseason. They like to pick up a Savaje P. Ryan. They went and got Adam Troutman at tight end. He's more of a blocker, but he can run routes as well. He already got Greg Dulcich there. Marquez Callaway, he's there to. He was with the Saints past couple of years. He's there to help out. Courtland Sutton goes down. I think a good season for Jared Judah is on the way. They already got Tim Patrick has a terrible second year in a row. He's had a terrible injury. Yeah. KJ Hamler, they just waived him for a non-injury something.
Yeah, he's battling something. It sounds like they were just doing that to do something. It sounds like he may come back eventually. Right. They're hopeful that he'll come back eventually, but yeah, unfortunate for those two guys.
All right, so and they when they tried to keep their line intact as best as possible. They signed a big Mike McGlinchey 5-year deal. And when they got Ben Powers as well, they got the 23rd strength of schedule, so they got to win some games. They got to play ball. They got the 11th ranked offensive line, which is great for Mr. Unlimited Russell Wilson. Hopefully he has a comeback year because last year was terrible for him. Maybe, like I said, Sean Payton can draw some things up, change the culture there, and bring that back to a winning ball club. On defense, they got Zach Allen on a 3-year deal. They went and got Alex Singleton on a 3-year deal. They went and added Kareem Jackson to that defense as well. Speaking of that defense, I'm going to go through it right quick because, like I said, I'm very high on that defense this year. Out loud, you got Frank Clark, which he's not Kansas City Frank Clark, but he still got something in the tank. You got DJ Jones, you got Zach Allen, you got Browning there, you got Singleton there, you got Randy Gregory there, which you know him very well from being a Cowboy.
Glad they paid him.
Pat Surtain there. I think he's a top 5 DB in the league right now. He's
arguably the best.
Right. Kareem Jackson at that strong safety. You still got Jonathan Simmons in there. He was a Pro Bowler last year as well. And on the other end, who knows what we're going to get from Damari Mathis there. But on paper, this defense is tremendous. I think all is up to that offense to get some scoring. I think, like I said, last year with that defense trying to keep them in games last year, they got wore down. 16.9, you said how many points they scored last year, which is terrible in the NFL. You got to score more points than that. You got to be up to that 24 mark to even have a chance to win some a good decent amount of games.
Last year if the stat was if they had averaged like 18 points a game, they would have won like 5 more games or something like that.
That's crazy. That's a wild stat. That's great research.
Something it was. I don't know if that. Don't quote me on it, but it was something like that.
I like it though.
Yeah.
I mean, on offense, I mean, technically you got the same offense, but you added Marvin Mills back. You got Greg Dulcich. I think he wasn't playing at the beginning of last year. So I mean, it's there for them. You got Javonte Williams coming back, Samaje P. Ryan. You got Callaway, Judy, Cortland Sutton, Marvis Mills, LaJordan Humphrey, and Callaway. They both came from that New Orleans offense when Sean Payton was there. So he brought a couple guys that he know personally into that offense to come to Denver and try to help that ball club out. Greg Dulcich is a great tight end. I think he can do well for them. And like I said, they first round pick, well, technically second round pick, it was Marvin Mims, which was their first pick of this past draft. So who knows, over under 8.5. Top of my head, I want to say over just for the benefit of the doubt because I think I like Sean Payton as a coach. He always showed us great things in New Orleans when be it that it may you had Drew Brees there, which is a Hall of Fame quarterback. You always kept it together. You always had Thunder and Lightning. You had Prime, Mark Ingram, and Kamara there. You had a hell of a Michael Thomas before injury. Michael Thomas there. You had a Jimmy Graham there. So you always had decent talent. I think this team has just as much talent as those teams had, and I think. And a better defense. I mean, that New Orleans defense they had it when they won the chip was pretty good as well. And I think this defense is good as well. So who knows? Talent, skills make fight sometimes. And we'll see what Denver Broncos do this year.
Yeah, no, I think they go over too. I don't know if this is I don't know if it's a playoff team or not in the way the AFC is stacking up. If they get 9 or 10 wins, that might not be good enough to get in the playoffs. I think they're maybe a year late here with this, with an aging Russell Wilson and stuff. It's gonna be really tough. I mean, this division is one of the better divisions in football, minus maybe the Raiders. But this is, it was supposed to be the super division last year, and it didn't work out that way with the Raiders and the Broncos stinking. But they should be. They should be improved as long as we talked about. And that other podcast with Dro about is Sean Payton Mike McCarthy? Yeah. I think we fixing to find out. So
right on. So let's move on to the fantasy football part of it. Would you be okay with Russell Wilson?
No.
Javonte Williams.
Running backs coming off of ACLs scare me.
Gotcha. I respect it. Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah. I like Jeudy. He's the receiver I like here.
Greg Dulcich.
Russ has never been a big tight end guy.
Gotcha.
He's never been a big tight end guy. So, well, Sutton. The receivers. I like. I probably in some ways I think I might actually like Pirine more than Javonte just because of just because of ADP and stuff. So
the pass catching ability is there. So he has a chance to make some noise. Usually third down back gets to play those last 2 minutes each half or the 4-minute offense. So we'll see.
And it just depends where I can get Javonte. If I can snag him as like my third back and kind of keep him stashed, and maybe as the year goes on, it comes back. But generally running backs coming off, except for Adrian Peterson, who's just a freak of he's not human, but generally guys coming off of ACLs, just like it takes them like he may be productive, but he won't be. And just because we haven't seen enough from him yet, because last year was supposed to be his year and he got hurt. So we'll see. We'll see.
Right on. All right, let's move on. Not Denver Broncos. I say Denver Broncos again, but Las Vegas Raiders.
The Las Vegas Raiders, coached by Josh McDaniels. They were 6-11 last year. On the offensive side of the ball, offense was not their problem last year, but they were 11th in total offense, 12th in passing, 17th in rushing. They were 12th in points. They were 28th in total defense, though. 29th versus the pass, 19th versus the rush, 26th in points at 24.6. They were 30th in sacks, and they had the third worst turnover differential at -8. So, no, not a good defense, and they turned the ball over far more than they turned other teams over. So, hence 6-11.
Yeah, 6-11 last year, like you said. Also, they got an over under 7.5. They went and got Jimmy Garoppolo to show up that quarterback with Derek Carr going to New Orleans this year. Josh Jacobs is the biggest question mark. They signed him to a free agent tag. He said he's not playing on it. Still hasn't arrived to camp. So who knows what we're gonna get for Josh Jacobs? Will he be there week 1? That's a big if for that team. They went and got DeAndre Carter, Keelan Cole. Phillip just said a bunch of vets, and the biggest one, Jacoby Myers, to go beside Devontae Adams on that offense. Him and on Hunter Renfrow. They traded Darren Waller to New York for a 3rd-round pick, which they went and got Byron Young, if I'm not mistaken, defensive tackle from Alabama.
They had 2 3rd-round picks. I don't know if it was
I got it. Trey Tucker.
Trey Tucker. I think that was the pick. I think that was the 100th pick.
The dude from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I got now that I've been saying and it goes back to what you said. I got to get a little better at it. I keep saying
Yeah, I do it too. It's hard not to when you're trying to fill that space in between.
So in the first round, they went and got Tyrese Wilson from the Texas Tech, which I like a lot. Then they went and got Michael Myers from Notre Dame, which is gonna fill in that spot. I did again, Jesus. But they got the 31st strength of schedule, which is not great for them. They got one of the strongest schedule. I think one more higher than that, but they got to put it together this year with that over under 7.5. They got the 19th ranked offensive line to try to keep Jimmy Garoppolo up front, getting that ball to Adam Renfrow and Myers. On paper, I like the offense. Like, I like Renfrow, I like Jacoby Myers, I like Adams, I like Josh Jacobs. You got Jimmy Garoppolo though. What is he going to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think if Jimmy's playing, I think he's the guy is when the guy's on the field, the guy wins games. I mean, I think this may be his, this could end up being like his worst season.
Yeah.
But just because I don't, like I said, the defensive side of the ball especially, and Jimmy has, and if that means if something happens to Jimmy, they have Brian Hoyer and the rookie they drafted out of Purdue, Aiden O'Connell. So it's not like if Jimmy goes down, this team is really bad. So I don't.
If Josh Jacobs don't play,
Josh Jacobs, I don't think he's going to. I mean, we'll see. I don't think he's gonna miss games.
I mean, they're gonna have to do something. You got Zamir White, Amir Abdullah, and Brandon Bolden. I mean, you should have been in the Kareem Hunt thing if it was me. I mean, I think what they're thinking is that he can't sit out.
Right. He's not going to sit, because if he starts sitting, he hasn't signed the franchise tag yet, so he's not incurring any fines or anything right now. But if he misses games, it's $500,000 a game. And I can't see him. I mean, we saw what happened when Le'Veon Bell did this, and it did not work out for him. So it's, so and back to the Jimmy G thing I wanted to bring up, because I knew it was something. When Jimmy G plays, he has started 57 games in his NFL career, which is kind of crazy to think about it, through all of these years, but he is 40 and 17.
He's a winner
as a starter.
He's a winner. I mean Jimmy wins. I mean, you can't be mad at the pretty boy. He gets the wins. He doesn't really lose games for you, and he really doesn't really go out and win them. He's steady. He's Alex Smithish. That's what I call that position, when you just manage the game and you keep it intact and you don't lose you a game. You just keep yourself there and you do what you're supposed to do and get the job done. So let's move on to the fantasy aspect of it. Devontae Adams, obviously. Josh Jacobs, we both agree that he's going to play. So
he's a tricky one, those holdouts and things like that. But I mean, I imagine him being on if he plays and he's healthy and all that kind of stuff, like they're going to be like, screw you, you're on the franchise tag. Here's 300 carries. Right. But generally when guys carry the ball that much too, it's another one that next year is usually a little bit of a dip. Like I don't expect him to lead the league in rushing again.
So with can we agree that we don't see Las Vegas Raiders winning or being on top, beating a lot of teams, as in holding a lot of leads and being behind? Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I think so.
So I know there's 12 other quarterbacks better than Jimmy G.
There is.
Okay. So would you put him on that last bench spot to hold him just in case your starter gets, or you just he's a waiver guy. You just wait and wait and wait.
I think he's always been for me. He's always been a big waiver guy for me. But but generally, again, it depends on your league, how the depth in your rosters and stuff. Just because he's a tough guy to hold on to, because what if he gets hurt? Too?
Super flex league, you definitely got to roster him.
For sure, for sure. He's startable in super. He's a starting quarter. He's a starter in super flex.
Correct.
So but again, they should be again. The only thing that would even kill, his fantasy aspect, the only thing that would kill me a little bit, would hurt me a little bit with some of these skill guys, is that if something happens to Jimmy G, then you have, Brian Hoyer or a rookie throwing the ball to them. But Devontae seems to do it. People expected him to have a down year last year, and he still caught 100 for 1,500. And his touchdowns were down a little bit, but he still was a top 5 fantasy receiver.
So if you got to pick between Myers, Renfro, and Austin Hooper, which is taking their starting tight end, which one would you pick? They have on your fantasy football roster.
I mean, I'm not taking Hooper for sure. It's between Myers. I'll go Myers. I do like the rookie tight end though, from Notre Dame. I think he was supposed to be a first round pick. Jimmy G likes throwing to tight ends. Michael Myers, he should be able to come right in and play, because he's a blocker. He's like a Gronk. He can block and catch, and I think I think this could be the year of the rookie tight end in fantasy football. So I like him. I actually like him a lot.
Don't do well. Fantasy rookie tight ends usually don't do well year one. Just the statistics.
No, it is. There's definitely true. But I think this year there may be like 2 or 3 that have really good rookie seasons. But if you want to hear that, listen to the fantasy podcast.
For sure. Over under 7.5?
Under.
Yeah, under is me as well. I don't think they do well this year. Maybe they make some moves. Maybe get some picks for Devontae. Try to move him. I don't know. I just don't see the light for them right now. They might, like I said, anything can happen. Every year a team comes out and overachieve. Maybe that's one team. Like I said, on paper, with Renfro, Myers, Devontae, Josh Jacobs on offense, you got it. And you got Crosby on defense. You try to improve that some. So we'll see what happens. Let's move on. Yeah. Who's next? Los Angeles Chargers.
The Los Angeles Chargers.
Let's do it.
They were 10-7 last year, coached by Brandon Staley. They lost that huge lead they blew to the Jags in the wild card round. They also brought in a new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore from the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. So let's see. I think their biggest weakness is the coach, but that's we'll get into that. Mm-hmm. Last year, this team was very banged up last year. They still managed to finish 8th in total offense. They were 30th in passing, third in passing, 30th in rushing. They were 13th in points per game at 23 and even 23. On defense, they were 20th in total D, 7th versus the pass, 28th versus the rush, 14th in sacks, 21st in points against at 22.6. But they were +5 in the turnover differential, which is pretty good. This team was, a disappointing 10-7 last year for sure, with all the talent on this roster.
This is my surprise team, the AFC. If you pay attention to the previous part, I took Seattle in the NFC. This is going to be my surprise team that has a chance to get to the Super Bowl. I think that I love their team a lot with Herbert getting paid this offseason. You still got Eckler. He's still kind of on a prove-it deal. They give him that 1-year deal to play running back for them, because he originally said I would never put that jersey back on and all this other stuff. But money talking that bullshit walk. So I think
and nobody they let him entertain a trade, and when nobody wanted to pay, it's
terrible for the running back.
Stinks for a running back. So, and he's like 28 now, so I
think he still can get it.
He's ancient. No, I love Austin Eckler, but he's as far as running back, he is ancient. Yeah. He's ancient for age wise.
They went and re-signed Donald Parham to go behind Jared Everett. So some of that 2 tight end set that they run sometimes is still intact. You went and got Eric Kendrick on a 2-year deal. They really didn't do much. They went and got Morgan Fox, which is a big run stopper in the middle, on a 2-year deal as well. I mean, basically you get J.C. Jackson back this year. You basically get Khalil Mack back this year. They was beat up last year.
Yeah, Joey Bosa didn't play. I mean, this team they
very beat up.
Generally, this team just needed to get healthy more than it needed to make moves.
True.
On paper, at least. On paper. So
Mike Williams stayed hurt. Keenan Allen stayed hurt. Like you said, this team was just injury riddled. And with a healthy Chargers team this year, I think they do very, very well. Like I said, barring any injuries, you went and drafted Quentin Johnson in the first round. I think he's a very great security deposit just in case Mike Williams get hurt or Keenan Allen. You can throw him either out there with either guy. I think him and Mike Williams more alike than Keenan Allen for sure, but I think he's still a great security deposit. I mean, you still got Joshua Palmer there, which did well for them when those other two guys was out. He played well. Jill got Jalen Guyton there. He knows the playbook as well. I mean, this team, like I said, I like it. Jared Everett played well last year. Who knows he can do that again? We'll see. This defense, Joey Bustle, Eric Kendrick, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, Derwin James Jr., arguably the best strong safety in the game, Asante Samuel Jr. This team is built to win this year, so we'll see. Ninth ranked offensive line, 27th strength of schedule. What's more to talk about with these guys? Over under 9.5.
Yeah, I mean, this is the staying healthy and the coach. That's I think that's the biggest. That's the one. I agree that the Chargers are definitely. I don't even know if we can call them. I mean, I guess we call them a sleeper because the other team that we haven't got to in this division. Right. But on paper, roster wise, I mean, again, this team has as much talent as any team. I think if the Chiefs didn't have Patrick Mahomes, people would think this is the best team on paper, probably. But I'm going to question the coach until they prove it. But I like them. I love Justin Herbert. I love. I like the Quentin Johnson. If there weren't some of the other rookies in the NFL, like I think he'd be a nice little sleeper. And I think he still is a sleeper for offensive rookie of the year, especially considering Mike Williams is always is going to miss 2 to 6 games at least. Keenan Allen missed time last year too. He generally stays pretty healthy, but he missed a ton of time last year. But yeah, this team should compete for the division and should be able to compete for the AFC. So it's just getting a team like them, it's important though to try not to go in the especially the good teams in the AFC. You don't want to go to Buffalo in January. You don't want to go to Cincinnati, and you don't really want to go to Kansas City. Those are all places that it gets cold for a team that plays most of their games in LA. Correct. So that's the thing. The coaching and the weather in the playoffs would be the big things. Like, I mean, they blew that lead to the Jaguars last year, which, was really bad.
Yeah. Fantasy football wise, you already know Herbert, Eckler, Allen, Mike Williams, question mark on Quentin Johnson. I mean, he's a great handicap to have on your roster late round, 14th, 15th round, depending how deep your league is. I would love to have him, especially if you got Mike Williams. I think you have to go get him. I think they go hand in hand. If you get Mike Williams, I don't know his ADP right now, so I don't want to blurt out 7th, 8th round or whatever it may be and be wrong. But I think if you go get Mike Williams and Quentin Johnson there, and after you got a defense and kicker or however your league is ran, I think you got to put Quentin Johnson on your team. I mean, you don't have to. It's a risk factor. Maybe Mike Williams stay healthy all year. Maybe Quentin Johnson still get a few in there, but I think he's not really fantasy relevant without him getting hurt, honestly. I think he's still going to get some targets this year. Don't get me wrong. He's going to have a game or two there. You'd be like, damn. But you can stream him on DFS, those type of things. But over under 9.5, I think it's one of those smash ones for me. If this team stays healthy, they would win 10+ game. I guarantee it. I wouldn't put my mortgage on it, but I would put a good bet on it for sure.
Yeah, I like the over a lot too. A lot.
For sure. Let's move on to the last year's AFC West champs.
And the last year's Super Bowl champs as well.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the chance. I'm going to let you both. But go ahead.
The Kansas City Chiefs, they finished 14-3, coached by Andy Reid still, and like we said, they won the Super Bowl last year. The stats last year, they were first in total offense, they were first in passing, 20th in rushing, they were first in points at 29.2, they were 12th in total D, 19th versus the pass, 8th versus the rush, 16th in points at giving up 21.7. They were second in sacks, but they did have a -3 turnover differential, which is not terrible, but you would think
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean, you would think a team, he makes up for a lot of stuff. You would think a team like this would be less than that, but they just, I mean, this is, they have Patrick Mahomes. It's like almost we can all right, they might win the Super Bowl. They have Patrick Mahomes next. Like,
it's really that simple sometimes.
But the biggest question is like, who's he throwing who's gonna be his second target after, Kyle after Travis Kelce. That's like the big things, and who's going to get the most carries at running back. Those are like the big questions here. But I mean,
I think Pacheco is locked in.
Jones is still he's still holding out right now. I know they want it. They've made mention that they want to come to a deal with him, but we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I heard some stuff. I heard some stuff today. They were talking that they have a. I'd have to look up his name because he's actually not even on the depth chart here. Is that they brought in a undrafted free agent.
So what position we talking?
A running back.
I know they still got LaMichael Pirine. They still got
he's a guy. He's a guy trying to Pirine is obviously he's kind of hasn't lived up to things, so they're trying to bring. But they were talking about him today on the radio because they were at Chiefs camp today, and there was a guy they brought in that they said that they like a lot, undrafted free agent. But I mean, he's not even on the depth chart, so maybe not. And that made me be a little slightly worried about.
Nah, man, Pacheco.
But this team is.
Pacheco is locked.
This is what they do, but he's not. I mean,
where's my lock button? Pacheco,
but not Jerick McKinnon.
Locked in.
Only problem I have with CEH, where he's going to fit in. I think McKinnon's an excellent third down back for them and a check.
Yeah, he catches the ball a ton. I mean, he had 7 touchdown catches last year. Hilaire knows the system. He's a first round pick a couple years ago.
That's the question mark, though.
So that's the.
I mean, it's great to have that depth, though. We've seen before these running back do get hurt. So I mean, right now you got 3-head monster back there, and I think it's great for them. I mean, you got
it's not great for fantasy, but it's good for them. It's good for them, though.
So I mean, it's perfect for them. So I mean, I'm not too mad at it, but. Where I was at, they got the 3rd ranked offensive line with Patrick Mahomes, which is always a problem. Then you got a 28th strength of schedule, pending that their division is what it is. End of the day, you got Patrick Mahomes. They did a lot. They got Jawan Taylor this offseason on a 4-year deal to boost that offensive line.
But lost Orlando Brown, so I think that's
Donovan Smith as well. Yeah, they got Orlando Brown is in Cincinnati, so
I think Brown is better than Taylor, but I think overall the offensive line is still pretty good.
That defense still the same. They went and got Mike Edwards on an incentive deal. Wharton. I mean, they had a good. They didn't have much wiggle room in that cap, so they did what they could. They went and got Richie James to bolster their offensive, their wide receiver room. Justin Watson, they gave him a 2-year deal, which he always seemed to have clutch catches throughout the year for those guys. So who knows, Blake? Blaine Gabbert, backup quarterback. He gets to take the Chad Henne role. Maybe hold the clipboard to a championship. Can't get mad at that guy. Blaine Gabbert had how many years starting in, what was it, Jacksonville?
He was in Jacksonville, and no, he was in Tampa too.
Yeah.
He played a little bit.
I think he got a chip behind Tom.
He might have, yeah. And he played a little bit in Tampa. He played in a little bit of Tampa. He played there a little bit too. So. When Jameis Winston was on his way out of there and stuff. So,
shout out James Wilson, man. Oh, hey, we doing, boy, man. He's still motivated. He still keeps it going. He still stay highly motivated. Hey, man, I can't be mad. You get millions of dollars to play the sport that you love. So, I mean, do what you can. But over under 11.5. Oh, fantasy. Let's talk of fantasy before we go over. God, I think we're both gonna take over on that 11.5.
Yeah, they've never. They have 12 is the least amount of wins they've had since Patrick Mahomes started and took over at quarterback.
Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Travis Kelce, obviously. Pacheco.
You like Kelce at tight end? You'd be happy with him?
Yeah, but I'm not going to draft him. I've never drafted Travis Kelce.
I've never had him either.
I've never had him either. I just think it's too high for a tight end, but I always seen when I play against him, he get 30, 40 points. I'm like, what the fuck?
I tried last year in my keeper league. I had like a really good team, and like I was trying to. I wasn't bad at tight end, but I wanted Kelce. I was like willing to like trade my draft picks for next year. I was trying to just make that little move. The freaking person that had him on that team would not let him go. I was like offering everything. I was like, take my first and my second round. I was like, let me win the chip this year. Would not give me him. I tried. I've always wanted to have him on one of my teams, and never. I'm sure I'll get him when he has the down year.
I mean, I got an 8th pick in our league that we in together. If he drops, no, I'm not going to draft him. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm not drafting him with my 8th pick. I'm just not. I mean, I like it, but I just feel like now it's the chance of decline now. It's like he's been so good so long. I feel like my jinx would be if I get him this year, God, I hope, pray that it don't happen to you, Travis. He has a high ankle sprain, be out 4 to 6 games, and I'd be like, look at this.
I think that's the only thing that's slowing him down.
Right.
Personally,
So,
but that's the only, especially with Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball. He's so good.
Right.
He's so good.
Fantasy football, we said Mahomes, Kelsey. I know Kadarius Toney stays injured a lot, but would you flyer him?
Yeah, I would take a chance. They said that that's other news I heard today is that they expect him and Pacheco to be ready for the first game.
Cool. What about Pacheco?
Yeah, no,
What
I mean,
number back would he have to be on your roster?
3, 2, 3, something like that. I mean, I have him he's in a keeper option for me, so I'm very interested in him because I have to make that decision soon. So I'm thinking at where I get his value in 14th round, I may have to keep him. So
In deep wide receiver leagues, I'm gonna give you these choices: Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, Valdez Scantling. Which one would you rather have?
not Scantling. I just like the upside more from some of those other guys.
Oh, Justin Ross, quote unquote, coming along in camp. So
Yeah, that's what they keep saying. I feel like he's like that camp guy that's gonna get him drafted and then he won't do anything.
if you had to choose a deep wide receiver, 3 wide receiver league,
Give me
what would you put on your?
Give me Sky Moore.
Sky Moore.
Second year.
I'm taking Scantling. MVS.
Second year receiver. That usually is a nice little year for them to break out. So give me Sky Moore.
I'm gonna go with MVS because I think he's a vet. He's been there before. He's a deep target for him.
For sure.
I mean, if you play in a 3 wide receiver, if you want that deep target guy that can get you 2 catch, 80 yards and a touchdown, you'll be.
I think it's going to be one of those. If you have any of the Kansas City receivers, though, it's going to be frustrating because they'll get you 20 points one week and then they'll get you 2 the next week, and that's just except for Kelsey, of course, because he's gonna do his thing.
Can the Chargers somehow, some way win this division?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I still expect the Chiefs. The Chiefs actually coming off a Super Bowl first place. Their schedule is not awful. It's not. They have a stretch of bad games.
Who, the Chiefs?
The Chiefs, and obviously they have to play teams like the Chargers. They have to play the Bengals. They have a tough stretch, but I just think they just win games. That's what they do. Even if they end up losing in the playoffs, though, they win games.
Detroit, game 1, Jacksonville, Chicago, Jets, Minnesota, Denver, Chargers, Denver again, Miami. I think it's in London or something because it's like 9:30 in the morning.
I think that's the Germany game, but it's one of those.
Yes, a cross seas game. I mean, at home versus Detroit on Thursday night, which is the beginning of the season. I got them winning. I'm pretty sure they're gonna get their rings and banners and all that good stuff. And I think Detroit just gonna be there to be there that game. Don't get me wrong; they're gonna try to win, show the world that we're here, we're a good team.
Yeah,
this year.
Dan Campbell's.
Correct.
They're like, this is homecoming. It's the homecoming game. They're putting us against them, like that kind of BS
at Jacksonville on 10 days. Jacksonville's. I just think they're gonna get literally everyone's best this year. Jacksonville made the playoffs last year. Now they at home with Kansas City coming in, their crowd. And
everybody wants to beat the champs.
So I just,
it's just so tough. They have arguably the best coach in football. Mm-hmm. It's probably Bill Belichick, but right there, Andy Reid's right there.
I give it. No, it's Belichick
and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, it's like right now if you want to go because Andy Reid's had more success lately, but he has Patrick Mahomes, which helps. I don't.
Belichick had Brady.
He did, of course. I mean, but it's. I think like with Brady and Belichick, and then like with Reid and. They're both they're equally.
Reid don't have a lot of good quarterbacks. He had Donovan McNabb. Who else he had so far?
No, he's now. I mean, especially if he wins a couple more. If he ends up getting a couple more Super Bowls, he's got to be. You got to start putting him. You got to start putting him in that conversation. You got to start. It's a fact. But this team, since Patrick Mahomes has taken over too, what's been their worst season has been a loss in the AFC Championship game.
True.
That's the worst they've done. They've played.
What team beat them?
Yes, the Bengals.
Okay.
Another team did beat them too, but I think some silly jersey that somebody next to me is wearing. I mean, it wasn't that guy playing quarterback. But, but yeah, they've hosted the AFC Championship game the last 5 years.
Yeah,
the last 5
crazy.
years. He's never played.
Good.
He's
and
never
going to be good.
And not that I don't think he couldn't go on the road, because I trust in Patrick Mahomes to the 10th degree, whatever you want to say. But he's never played a road playoff game, which is so crazy because he's already played like 13 playoff games or more. He has, aside from a neutral site Super Bowl. So I mean, he's a
generational talent, man.
It's turning into like the new Brady thing. Like, you don't bet against the Chiefs.
Correct.
You don't bet against. You don't count them out until they're out. I mean, even their first Super Bowl. Remember their first Super Bowl run? They were losing to like the Titans by 21. They were losing to the Texans by 17, and they were down in the Super Bowl by like 13 in the fourth quarter, and they won all those games. It's just, I mean, it's really amazing to watch. He's really, really good.
Very true. Let's wrap up this AFC West. I'm gonna go on a limb, go Chargers, Chiefs. I gotta put Las Vegas at the bottom and then go Broncos.
Yeah,
I think 3 get in. I'm putting Broncos in, Chargers in, and Chiefs.
Yeah, I have 2 teams. I mean, we'll have the prediction show, which, and again, it's fluid. Things are subject to change, but right. I have 2. I have the Chargers and I have the Chiefs winning the division and the Chargers wild card.
Now that you said Broncos, I don't know. We'll think about it when the prediction show comes.
I actually so at least it's on, so it's somewhere in case I change my mind. We can go back. I actually right now on my current predictions that I'm doing through Playoff Predictor, I have the Chargers in the Super Bowl.
I like them.
I have them losing. I have the Chiefs winning the division, but I have the Chargers winning the AFC right now. There's a strong possibility that will change between now and the prediction show, but that's what I have right now.
Chargers versus Cowboys, I'm guessing.
Something like that. Something like that. The two teams. The Chargers are the Cowboys of the AFC. So
how did I figure? You already know, man. We're on positivity every episode, every single time for the whole thing. We're gonna always do this. We're gonna always start in with positivity here at the LK Sport Podcast, and I also have another podcast in CST, which is Chill Sip and Talk, which you have
subscribe to
the LK Pods on YouTube. We have actually on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and I'm registering to be on Google Podcasts as well. It's new to me as well, so it's all these. The world's changing, all these different podcast platforms now. So I'm expanding. Make sure you go check out both of the North, the NFC and AFC North pod, the AFC, NFC pod, South pods. Then we just did both of the West pods. So go click on them, view them, watch them for 10, 15 minutes. I don't care. Go watch it, subscribe, like. We're trying to get those views up, those likes up, and subscribes up, so we can take the next step here and expand this brand here.
Yeah, you take the time to watch it. Please like it. Please subscribe. It's very simple. It won't cost you a dime.
Yeah. So hopefully in a year or so we can blow this thing up more and get out my upstairs of my home and
hit the little bell thing next to it now too. That's a new thing with YouTube now.
Yeah.
Even if you subscribe, there's a little bell thing that gives you if you click the bell next to the subscribe button, it will give you a notification when the new pod drops.
Right on. Do that too. So subscribe. Oh, positivity, not how you start, how you finish. Short and sweet. We keep them short and sweet. This is number 6 of 8 of divisions we're gonna do. So got 2 more or less. AFC East, NFC East. Check those out. They coming to you soon. And then we're going to get out here. This is LKSP 55. Be humble, live humble, stay humble. You already know, and I'm thankful and I'm grateful you're listening to the LK Sport Podcast.